Okay, it is 6 o'clock. I'd like to open up this evening's meeting of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
And we'll continue on with roll call, starting on my left.
Doug Johnson.
Christie Morris,
Archie.
Mike Schmidt.
and I don't believe Heather Means in. Not seeing it,
No.
so recognizing the absence of Heather Frank. Who's the start?
Yeah.
At this point on the agenda, I'd like to move into local control for the purposes of liquor and tobacco license renewals. Barb, you want to lead it or?
Sure. For your consideration for renewal, there or any of the not gonna spread through them quickly. JC's Market LLC doing business as JC's Market in Delhi. That's a renewal for a second class and for his tobacco license. Midway Oil Corporation, which is North Springfield Mobile. They're renewing their second class, their tobacco and their tobacco substitute. Dollar General Retail LLC, it's DJ Retail LLC doing business as Dollar General. They're renewing their second class and their tobacco. And Sunshine LLC, which is Sherry's Place on 38th Street, is renewing her first and third class. And I assume we're gonna have quite a bit more in June, but for most of the rest of them are gonna. They're rolling on.
Yep, yes, it's fine. Thank you, appreciate it. Is there a motion from the members to approve the renewals for the applications for liquor, and tobacco, how many tobacco products? Yeah, tobacco substances.
So move.
I'll second that.
Thank you, members. We do have a motion and seconded to approve the licenses as presented. And so we have the second class of tobacco license for JC's Market, second class tobacco license and tobacco substitute for the North Springfield Mobile, is actually the Midway Oil Corporation. That's where the arrow is.
Yeah.
The second class and tobacco license for the Dollar General, and first class and third class for Sherry's Place. Is there any discussion from the members before we vote? Comments from the audience? Not seeing your hearing any, I'll call for the roll, starting on my left, Doug Johnson.
Aye.
Steve Moore says aye. Howard Chase.
Aye.
And Mike Schmidt.
Hi.
That is for in the affirmative, recognizing the absence of. That completes the local control option for this evening's agenda. We'll move back into the regular session. And start off with the motion to approve the minutes of the regular select board meeting, April 27th.
I move that we adopt the minutes of April 27th.
Thank you, members. We have a motion and seconded to approve the April 27th minutes of the Springfield Select Board. Is there any corrections, errors, or admissions noted?
On page 2, I got it says paired Chase abstain, recognizing Heather Fran as being absent, which I think was supposed to be Tara was absent at the time. That's why she abstained from minutes. Correct. Then there's only one other one that I saw. It's on page 3. It's not the stat attorney, it's the state's attorney.
Oh,
Other than that, I didn't see anything else.
Which one was that under?
That was under Spencer Hall Road,
yeah, towards the bottom.
fourth line up from the bottom.
Thank you. Are there any other corrections, errors, or omissions noted? Comments from the audience? Hearing seeing none. Within Zoom participants, I'm seeing a hand go. All for the approval of the minutes. As printed and distributed with amendments. So, on my left, Doug Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Morris says aye. Howard Chase.
Aye.
And Mike Schmidt. Aye. For the affirmative, recognizing the absence of Heather Graham, and therefore they are approved. Requested additions to the agenda.
Just one, if we could adopt our proposed summer meeting schedule for those with the dates, and then we can then publish that on calendar for future meetings.
Want to put that on as number 10, or do we assume that? Without objection, we'll consider that. And we had discussion on this the last time, at least, if there was any issues, so everyone should be familiar with it. Good, get that added. Moving on to new business, item number 1, updates on properties with municipal action or complaints.
So since we last met, we did post the Seavers Road property for the trash and various items that were outside of the property. The resident, whoever's living there, I'm not sure it's the residents, but whoever's took down, we posted 2 different occasions. So we do have Crown Point is coming. We started with today, this afternoon, I believe they started the materials. They finished there, they're also then going to 70 Valley Street. So that will be outside of those properties, things up here. Probably by most of them this tomorrow. Should be positive forward. And then as the attorney said, we'll try to collect or expose us for the cost for disposal of all those materials at Sears Brook. And since it's unclear as to who's actually owning property, I'll put up some sort of action. Should be a program, so we discussed that's in progress. The owner at 78th Valley does have our quit claim deed, is considering signature for that, so we're going to judge, hopefully get that property signed over soon. And before we can start the all the rest of the citizens about how to manage that property. So we're waiting for the signature, that one forward. And then the incident that we had with the individual who's living in his car, it's creating quite a bit of a concern. Thanks to a lot of intervention from Christie and other folks, and various administrative officials, we finally got that resolved, and the individual is no longer residing at that residence. No longer be able, apparently, to claim that in any kind of activity going forward. So got to come, I think, took a while, but I think at least for now, that issue is there. We did meet with the owner at 1012 Central, again, updating, he owes us a pretty comprehensive update to some of the inspection issues from the state inspection. And so that was going to be accomplished by the end of this month. So we've been in contact with him. He's also been impacted by some of these other properties that we've eliminated and shut down. So we're working through some of those issues as well. Some of the creating some problems, additional problems at 1012 Central. So we'll continue to look through those as well. So that's it for now. There's always something more, but at least for now.
Well, thank you much for the updates. The board members have any questions? Yeah, so we have some in the audience this evening for comments, and I see one hand up. I get you to identify yourself.
Ron Griffin. The property on Seavers Brook Road, I live right across the street from it. And I don't think anybody's living there, but you'll find 3 or 4 people there every night as soon as the sun goes down, and they're gone when the sun comes up. One of our other neighbors had to put up no trespassing signs all around their property, and I have had to do the same thing. It was noted to me by another neighbor that when I wasn't home, people from that area have been wandering around my own property. So and there's nobody living there, but they're coming in and out almost every night. And I just happened to notice I'm a night owl, so I was able to notice.
Okay, so like you heard, we posted the property for notice that we were gonna clean it up because the original owner apparently.
There is a lot of hazardous material leaking into that brook. For what it's worth. There's a lot of nasty stuff back there. So might need some more attention.
Anyone, get your name for the record.
Nicole, so I am the other neighbor, and I have some questions, I didn't see anyone there today cleaning up, it looked like there were more people over there, that weren't. But I have a couple questions, the first one is, I'm curious if, I don't know, if you're currently, working with any outside agencies right now on addressing the environmental concerns. That I've reported, so I'm just curious if there's any progress there. And then I also, am wanting to bring up too, I don't know if it's possible to speak with who is cleaning it up, but there's a structure, like shed, that is right up against our property in front yard that has gotten significantly worse over time, and we've seen like bags of trash, garbage piled up into this shed, and it looks like it could fall at any point. And so when that does come down, that's going to be all over our property. So I don't know if it's possible to check that out as well while they're cleaning up the outside.
If it's a ground floor excavating, they're very good at cleaning up the problem.
It is, yes.
It does remarkable work for us in the past.
I'm also curious if there's any news about further timelines with court. I don't know typically, I don't know what the avenue will be with court, once it does go to court, but just in general, if there's any general time frame. All of that.
Well, in talking to Steve Ancuda, you have to have some additional, so there is nobody to give this bill to, the owner ceased and deceased, so. That's gonna be the document that's gonna establish some standing for us to take for actual procedure. I don't know how far in advance they need to schedule a date, open up probate. And then typically, once they start, they have to have publicly noticed advertisements and all that, so it's not gonna be a rapid process.
What about the hazardous
Hey,
material?
Ron,
So,
you need to raise your hand.
so once once we can establish some sort of ability to actually take some ownership of the property, we can then be able to do some things in terms of what other environmental issues might be on the property. So we'll make sure that we get somebody on that, and take the appropriate actions. It's not the end, it's the beginning. Sure, well, thank you for that.
So to answer your second question, that is another agency is called the Vermont State Court System. We don't speak for them. We can advocate, but Steve will be working through the process locally to forward any information. And I suppose we can ask about the urgency.
Right,
Yeah.
Yes.
we'll make them aware. Right, definitely.
But I want to thank everyone on each of these properties, but specifically Stevens Brook, for your patience and understanding, and I hope you can sense that these are a process that we have to, we're a government agency, we don't have the authority just to remove it without due process. So appreciate your due diligence and being here and reporting on it. And I heard this evening, we're making progress, and if it did start to clean up today, we'll look forward to tomorrow. And certainly keep us updated, both of you, on the actions out there. Anything else on Stevens Brook? You're good? 78, is there anyone here to speak to 78 Island? And sure, we had some action up there. No, wrong resident. So that one we heard is in process too, and that's a legal action and probably courts when we start filing liens on the property, those can play out. But we will, we've started, and like the town manager said, every process is a start and there's an end. We're not at the end yet. But we'll keep working. 10 and 12 Central, anyone have one comment on 10 and 12 Central? Ask questions that we can talk about. I know there was some activity up there last week. Pretty significant, person was arrested, and I believe that was, there was some federal involvement with that, so that's the quickest way for things to have immediate action. Not that they're not abiding by laws or rules or regulations, but they seem to have more authority. When it comes to crimes that this person committed in another state. And that was remediated. And the report, I had a question tonight from Garrett Richardson, and he called me to ask about the inspection report. Did we get a follow-up report from the engineer and help?
Want to see the state fire marshal was gonna be issuing one in the fall. I
Yeah.
don't have a copy, so I'll ask him. If he has it. Yep,
I wasn't aware that we had seen it yet,
I have not,
and so that's what I advised him. He said, okay.
but I'll follow up.
Anything else on people comment on the properties that we discussed this evening?
I'm just curious, my name is Kelly Burr. If people are showing up at the house at night and going into the house, why would it not be possible for the police to arrest them? Entering the property that's not theirs. I mean, is there no interim action that these people have to wait until their house gets burglarized or set on fire or their kids find, a syringe? I mean, what can a person do in such a terrible situation? What can we expect from the town?
Right. Unfortunately, and this is, I think, Chris was trying to explain it, it is private property. You don't have any authority or right to go in and do anything. Even if, they could be legitimately neighbors, friends, relatives. But there isn't a legitimate purpose of witnessing some sort of illegal activity. There is somebody paying the taxes for them, not on the tax sale. So somebody will come in and pay the taxes with cash. So that would be the other way that we would have some ability to take ownership of the property. So it's a little more complex than normal situations, but I think we at least have an element of that trouble. So.
Anyone else? Any comments from Zoom participants? See what the names are. Attention to speak. We'll move on. Item number 2, consideration of adoption of cemetery committee rates for service.
So there is a memo in your packets. There's changes at the cemetery in terms of contractors and folks that are doing some of the work there. So as you can see, the chair has been written to you and asking if the board would be interested in changing some of the fees based on some of these changes now. Lost a long-term person who has been doing this work, and now there's a new service involved with the fees have changed. So I think this is within items in yellow. I think are the ones that are different. Something for the board's consideration. And there are a host of different costs. And the other, I think, major differences is, discontinuation, I guess, for lack of a better word, of any kind of a Sunday burial. So these schedules are Monday through Saturday rates. I think those are probably the two primary issues, unless anything else from that part.
No, not really, but, you probably don't know this, but the cemetery commission has the right to change the rates. With any notice, but that's what they've done with the letter of intent, for giving a notice. And it. What they, to explain the visual, what they've done is, flat rated a burial from Monday through Saturday to be a straight 700. Before it was 700 for the weekday, 750 for the weekend. And the reason for that is because the new vault company has the device and grass as part of its services, so the town no longer needs to provide the manpower or the equipment for a grass and device service. And this is a way of absorbing the increase in the ditch digging the grave rate from the plotters. So the cemetery commission was thoughtful in trying to somehow maintain rates, pull the grass and device out of the service that the town provides. We no longer need a manpower on Saturday. And then they went further and decided they wanted to eliminate a Sunday burial. So everybody involved gets a day off, essentially. And I think in the minutes, when the cemetery commission met, the chair pointed to other cemeteries that do not do burials on Sunday. That was most of it. There's two cemetery commissioners here tonight that would answer some questions. They did just for the cremations, we still have to have our sexton dig that hole for cremation service. Those services will continue Monday through Saturday. There is a differential for Monday through Friday in the rate and Saturday because we do need manpower there. So the earned service is still done by the sexton.
Yeah, we need a motion from the board at some point to adopt these or accept them.
That's just a consideration of intent that we have to formally adopt it.
Definitely none of the rates on the Sunday burial. I'm not clear about that part. No burial, there's no rate.
Be true, I think, most likely it is. So. We can accept a motion to accept the rates. Right, we just want to say recognizing that there are no Sunday burials. That was a
Confirmation.
confirmation.
I'll make a motion that we acknowledge the new rates from the cemetery commission and the elimination of Sunday burial.
I'll second it.
Excellent, so we have a motion seconded to acknowledge the schedule of charges for Monday to Saturday burials and the elimination of Sunday burials. Is there any discussion from board members? Comments? We have cemetery commissioners here. Any comments? Anyone that you're good or?
Barbara covered it very well.
Excellent. Comments, we have audience, including Zoom, I suppose. I'll ask one quick one. Are these consistent with other towns and cemeteries?
They're actually below, I think, Scott Page, the chair of the commission did a study back when rates were adjusted in 2024. And, we're a little bit lower, and it's, you know, some consideration to the population and keeping the services low. The Potter family, which does the digging before, Chris got out of, well, part of the business. They had increased rates, I understand, from all around, except for us. And they were, helping us out a little bit. I would say they are comparable. I haven't looked recently, but the commission did, an evaluation a couple of years ago.
Thank you for that information. There aren't any other questions or comments? We'll call for the roll, starting on my left, Doug Thompson,
Aye.
Kristen Morris, and aye. Howard Chase, and Mike Schmidt.
Aye.
That was 4 in the affirmative. And so approved, recognizing the absence of the family. Thank you for all that.
Good thing, so another part of the ordinance says the rates don't become effective until 14 day notice, so June 1. This one,
They take them from us.
but the rate is going down a little bit, so I think Scott will charge the lower rate.
Will they also discontinue Sunday burials immediately or not?
So far,
We have 2 already scheduled for June 14th. So it won't change. We just won't schedule any more.
Yeah. All right, thanks. Item number 3, appointments. A couple of,
So board did, a vetting process, and there are 4 folks for consideration for vacancy. Planning Commission, and then the Trails and Rural Economy. 2 current members, will continue serving their terms that expire in March, so. Got both on consideration C.
so I entertain a motion for the planning commission to appoint Catherine Kratz, I'm sorry if I get the names wrong. Kelly Burke, Heidi Primbach, and Robin Barney.
I'll second them.
We have a motion to appoint 4 members. Is there any discussion from board members? Comments from the audience? What is this one? Seeing and hearing any, roll call for.
planning commission for a 4-year term.
These are all 3s, and that's it. Now we got them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all expiring in 3-year increments. And I can see it.
I think I was sworn in for 3 years.
I served 4-year term. Yeah, I think Brandy jumped in because somebody left. And that might be why he only served 3 years.
Yeah,
Oh,
But I did a 4-year.
I think it's gotten a little wonky. So. Yeah, I'll check that out.
You want, and we can adjust that,
Why don't you appoint them tonight? There's some work instead of.
if we get
If
that
we have to
started.
add another year, that'll just be more
Yeah.
glorious.
I was trying to stump that. Process, actually. I know it's not for 4 years.
This could be, like other programs, is we'll notify you when you can retire. Okay. There aren't any other comments or questions, I'll call for a vote, and then Rick, Mike.
where are we at in the hiring of manager?
We're a little disappointed. We had an offer out and that individual did not take our offer, had a change in their circumstances or wife took another position, so they were not going to be located. So we are back to square one. So we've had 2 offers out, neither one have been successful. We have folks on staff helping out and, doing the best we can. Ben's helping out in the field. We've got Carrie helping out, trying to process permits. I'm gonna have to do some of the administrative support to the BRB and to the planning commission. We still have active recruitments on the VLCT websites and other sites. I've also been calling people that I know, random planners and different people saying, hey, heard anybody that's disgruntled or wanting to change jobs, and we are not in the program. So it's gonna be a little bit. Okay.
I have a quick question. I just looked it up and it's 4 terms. I mean, 4 years.
4 years, that's what I was in the process of. And finish up conversations, I'm back to business. So it is 4-year term?
Yep.
We agree to that, so we can appoint them for 4 years instead of the 3. So recognizing that change, with the motioner and seconder still.
Yeah.
Approved motion, yes. I don't know, brainer, but we'll get it on there. So we will appoint Catherine Kratz, Kelly Burke, Eddie Trimbaugh, and Robin Vargas to the plan commission for a 4-year term. I'll call for the question. Call for the question on the side of my left, Doug Johnson.
Aye.
Christie Moore says aye. Howard Chase.
Aye.
Mike Schmidt.
Aye.
That is for the affirmative. Will approve, recognizing the absence. Now Barbara's here, and just to remind everyone that once you're appointed to a commission, a board, or committee, that there is a swearing in process that has to happen.
Right, there's a swearing in, very easy. Down in my office, there's also, an ethics and, conflict of interest policy that the town has that will provide you with. And there's a little, give you a website where there's the ethics commission has a little test for you. On ethics.
So should we make an appointment with you or just drop in?
Just drop in, you know, it's something we can do very quickly for you.
None of this is difficult, it is just a technicality that we must complete. And that's, the ethics training is true for all state, town, municipal people that serve in the capacity. But again, I want to thank you for congratulations and willingness to serve, and wish you the best of luck. And as you heard, we get some action that's gonna happen relatively quickly, and we look forward to that. Moving on to the Trail of Rural Economy Committee. And Barbara Schultz and John Bond, I entertain a motion to approve the reappointment of those two.
I move that we approve the reappointment of Barbara Schultz and Sean Bond.
I'll second it.
And just for clarification, are those for those are 3-year term, 26, 27? Yep. So we have that part.
Well, I think the year would be 29.
Yeah.
Make that notification. Mike, without objection. Yep. Any discussion from board members? Comment from the audience? Or Zoom participant, seeing the hands up or attempts to speak, will call for the motion. Give a vote. Call for the vote. Starting on my left, with Doug Johnston.
Aye.
Christie Moore says aye. Howard Chase.
Aye.
Mike Schmidt.
Aye.
That is 4 in the affirmative, and they are so approved. Again, I want to thank the two members who currently serve and are willing to serve for another 3 years. Moving on to item 4, ordinance committee report, land use development ordinance.
There's a couple of actions here this evening, but Walter is here. He wants to just give the board some of his feedback. That's not work. Folks have been working on this. They were here for long afternoons and lots of homework in between. So it's a fairly comprehensive review, quite a few changes as you can see with all the new language and strike-through language. The only thing is that in talking with the attorney, he said that the review, the public hearing that's going to be required that we're going to schedule for us is fine. The referral is just for the planning commission. We want to look over these documents. It's so lengthy. They don't have to do it statutorily. It gives them extra time. So once you get that, then we can forward that to them, so they have an opportunity to go through these. And we'll set our hearing for June 22nd, which will give us time to gather comments and have our initial public. So the administrative procedure, but I'll leave it up to Walter if he wants to get into more of the substantive work that was actually done by the ordinance review.
Well, this was an extremely complex and complicated process, like the ordinance committee has never seen before. I would liken it to the amendment of the charter for the town when we went through that process, and Christine worked very much involved in that. The reason it was both the process and also the content where there was complication. The process in that we have the adoption of ordinances process in our charter that we have to follow. But there's also in state statute a different process, similar but different, for the adoption of zoning amendment projects. So we had to kind of blend the two of those together, and Steve included was wonderful as far as guiding us where we had to meet this deadline and that deadline, whatever. What also made it very difficult for us is that the planning commission was losing a number of members, so there wasn't as much continuity. The document that they did, which was a massive overhaul, when it was submitted to you and then you subsequently referred it to the ordinance committee, we did not get the benefit of knowing what the changes were that had been made by the planning commission. And the reason was they said it was such a massive overhaul that to try and do a red line version of it would just be messy, very, very messy. We've tried to make it a little bit easier for you and typically this is not done with ordinances, but we have submitted to you our red line version that compares what we got from you and from the planning commission versus the changes that the ordinance committee did. During most of the process, Chuck Wise did join us via Zoom, which was extremely helpful. We also did have a planning commissioner, one or sometimes two, who could enlighten us a little bit about what the thinking was of some of these things. But as in the cover memo that Mike provided, and then also the summary memo that Mike developed, it kind of shows you the things where we were focusing our attention. We want to make sure there was consistency. We want to make sure things made sense. We had input from actually your 4 new planning commission members who joined us for virtually all of our meetings. And we had to do a lot of additional research and everything. When you set your public hearing, according to the state statute, it can't be, you have to at least give 15 days public notice to it. So you can't set public hearing for any time less than 16 days, I would say. This is just a huge, huge document with lots and lots of changes. And I don't know if you want to go through them or if you want to just move along the process and set the hearing, receive further input, give the planning commission an opportunity to adjust their report. Now, they don't have to really take action on this again, but they do have to adjust the report that they do that goes for circulation to the regional planning commission and to other bodies, some state bodies. So, Mike was gonna be here. I don't know what happened, but, I could do, is Mike on Zoom?
There's a Michael on the Zoom.
I don't know if he might just see if that is Mike and, if he wanted to make call to your attention, any specific things.
Mike Martin, are you on Zoom?
It's not.
No.
Anyway, though, I'm available to answer questions. If I ever go through this thing, all the changes will be here till tomorrow. So, and you've only had this document for a couple of days, so I can't even imagine that you've had an opportunity to review, go through it all and see all the changes, so. I'm at your disposal.
I know I, for one, have not had a chance. I had a grandson's graduation in Pennsylvania over the weekend, so. The man dashed down and had to serve the ceremony and then back yesterday.
We met weekly on this document from, I think we received it from you in November. And so we have met weekly on this. And our meetings have gone an average of 4, sometimes 5 hours. So a lot of time, a lot of effort, because we were also operating under a deadline. I mean, we started with the 72-page document. And we had a deadline and we had to get it back to you. And as you saw at your previous meeting, we needed to ask you for an extension on that. So.
Yep. Thank you.
I'll leave it at that.
Jules, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly speak in support of the work done by the Ordinance Committee on this document. They took on a large role in it. I attended several of the meetings, although not all of them, and I think that the document that you have in front of you is a very good one, and I would be quite pleased to see it passed. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this point, we're looking for a motion to accept the report, the recommendations, and refer the report to the ordinance to the planning commission for statutory review.
I move that we accept the report submission and recommend it to submission to the planning commission. And we also need to set a public hearing.
That's another agenda item, so once
Okay.
we're done, then we'll set.
Okay.
Thank you, members. And we do have a motion and second to accept the report recommendations and refer the report and ordinance to the planning commission for a statutory review. You know, they got comments right there. Is there any discussion from board members?
So I do have a question. So Mark is currently going through a land use process. How are we making changes that'll have to be changed again? How do these interact?
The short answer is no.
Okay.
I don't believe you'll have to. As you know, I represented on the Regional Planning Commission also. And the changes that they're making should not affect this. And those that were, there was new legislation that was approved in order, and that's why the regional plan is having to be amended. Well, we had the benefit of the Mark staff working with the planning commission during this process.
Okay.
So as they were doing that, we were also matching it up with new regional requirements. So the big changes is going to be this designation of, a village versus a planning area versus this, that, and the other thing. And also the housing quotas and stuff like that. All of those were kind of anticipated through this process.
Okay.
If there needs to be a change, it would probably be fairly minor. But this was kind of anticipating a lot of that.
Excellent, thank you.
That question actually came up in Montpelier too, from a representative that's on a planning commission as well. And there's one precede the other, governs the other, and the answer is no. They're both dynamic documents. Yeah. They're expected to be updated over time, but they didn't see the conflict, just like what Walter was saying, they didn't see the conflict between the planning commissions and the municipal documents. Any other comment from the board? We'll open it up to discussion from those in attendance and Zoom participants. We'll call for the vote. And again, we're early in the process. This is just accepting it. The report recommendations and referring it back to the planning commission for a statutory review. If there aren't any other questions, I'll call for the vote, starting on my left with Doug Johnston.
Aye.
Christie Moore says aye, Tom Chase,
Aye.
and again, Mike Schmidt.
Aye.
That is 4 in the affirmative. And it is so approved, recognizing the absence of. Congratulations. And the board's going on, which the board should review this as well. This is when we have a public hearing. Or questions, we can speak to it as well. But I want to thank the ordinance committee and for all their hard work. And oversight into this document. It was tenuous at best and did take a long time. We very much appreciate it. We're indebted to it.
Just one other point. We started just Mike and I doing this, and then Doug dove right in, kind of in the middle of it, and we were really frightened that he might be scared off because it was so overwhelming. But we really appreciate having a third member, because of course, when you did the motion, if we didn't get unanimous, we have tie.
Well, they had the brunt of the work, so.
So we had to
I
have a
just came in on the
tiebreaker.
tail.
You did, and we do appreciate that as well. Someone has to talk about the part of these committees and commissions as a liaison. It is appreciated. So we did vote on that, and so move now. Is there another part, or because that would come under the summer schedule?
Right, so we
So
do, once you adopt your summer schedule, one of the items we put on for this evening is to then set a public hearing for the next stage of this review, which would be the change code study. So we can hold item 5 until we conclude item 10, and then we can do the other.
Very good. We'll move on. Item 5. Set the public hearing to adopt land use. That's what you just said.
Yes, that's all right, we can hold that in advance, and we'll do it when we get to item 10.
Is there objection to holding it for the summer schedule? No. All right. We'll move on. Item number 6, fire EMS revenue update.
So previously we had talked at a board meeting about our policy for EMS billing and collection, and then digging into our numbers, I just wanted to sort of bring a few things to your attention that are impacting our provision, how much we're actually receiving when we provide services with our ambulance. The state has a new contract now, so you noticed there was some deficiencies under Well Point. That is now the Vincent service, so they will be rebilling. That contract going back to January 1st. So we should see some of our collections. The state's a good payer, but while they were in that transition, we had a gap. So when we transport it, it's related to the prison and other things, has been held up, so that's been impacting some of our revenues. That should now be resolved with this new contract. But we have a host of other accounts that you can see are past due. There is a provision in your current policy to go out to private collection. You would reach the point where you sort of made an initial event, trying to collect ourselves, and then the second billing. And I guess it's been done once before in the private third party, and also fairly successful. So I didn't know what the board's feeling was, if you wanted us to go back out and try to find another third party to try to more aggressively develop this revenue. In the past, what they've done is they've had these adjustments and write-offs at the end of the year, just to sort of bring the account, a certain point, closing on that, it's uncollected, and then moving it forward. The adjustments, I wanted to just give you some ideas of what's happening on our reimbursements. CMS, the federal agency, sets all of our rates. And They have been slow, which I think is probably maybe giving too much credit for adjusting their rates. They're in the middle right now of this 3-year study to go ahead and see if they're going to in fact increase rates. They've sort of frozen themselves in time. Obviously, our costs are increasing and our reimbursement rates for Medicare and Medicaid, you see, it's been flat. So those gaps that we have to adjust out, we've changed our rates over time to reflect more of the cost of the service. We're having to write out larger and larger adjustments. And it is a concern at some point because outside of property taxes, this is the second largest source of revenues that we see in our general fund budget. So it's something that we need to be aware of and understand that it's going to be a concern as we go forward. If they in fact don't adjust rates, you're going to see that gap only increase into the future as our costs continue to rise. Our equipment costs, I think we're looking at some point here in the not too distant future to replace an ambulance. And the cost of those have almost doubled since the last time we got a number of those. So there's some concern here that we have to take a hard look at, what we're going to do locally and how that's going to impact us. Because as these gaps continue, it's going to put more pressure on us in terms of trying to make that right. So we need that numbers. There is emergency services. The provision of emergency services is always going to be the number one priority. But as a business, you're starting to see have some concerns. And it impacts us as we go forward, trying to maintain tax rates and trying to do the things we're trying to do to keep costs down and to try to be as reasonable. So the long-winded explanation to say that there's a lot of factors here that are impacting particular revenue for us. A lot of it is outside of our control. The one action that the board is potentially interested is for us to go out and explore it and see if we can get a better turn of the time this time as opposed to the last time we tried. So.
We're looking for a motion tonight to adopt these or accept them or.
At this point, I would say, again, it's a lot of information. I think we're working with our billing folks to try to lower this gap, and I think getting a lot of the state money to be billed should help us. But we'll have to make a decision for the end of the fiscal year if we're going to go out and try to collect some of this money. But at the end of the year, we have to adjust it out to get ready for the billing for audit and all those purposes. So my concern is that we have a pretty significant gap here. If we don't pay attention to this, it's going to become a pretty large cost center for us to look at as we go forward to the next budget.
I know there's this is complicated. And I don't know, the members in the public are aware of how complicated it is. But Scott mentioned it, town manager mentioned the Medicaid issue. So when you stand up at an ambulance service and you're accepting Medicaid patients or Medicaid payments, Medicaid only pays so much. So for instance, if we were doing a basic life support emergency BLS, we bill it out at $425. Medicaid's only going to pay so much of that. They're going to give us $300, for example. If we were to bump that up to $625, Medicaid's only going to give us $300. So it's not that we can charge more and they'll pay more. Medicaid doesn't do that; they set the rates, and that's what Scott, you were alluding to. Where just the gap gets bigger for what they call write-offs or forgiveness of the debt that you are going to collect. Regular insurance payments are ones that insurance companies we've all seen it, will do what they can not to pay the entire bill. They'll discount to certain levels. And that if you raise the rates, you will get more. And then, but there's still the unpaid amount that resides there. And that's what the third party company could do for us, to collect those fees. Or the ones that don't have insurance and don't pay. And that's another option, don't have Medicaid, don't have insurance. To go after them, in a lot of cases, these are, these are people that don't have great means. And to try to get payment, it would be very difficult. So it's, when you're thinking about third-party, collection, it is difficult. We're only going to achieve a certain percentage of Medicaid. We could achieve a higher successful rate with some of the others, but that's what expense.
And they take a pretty large percentage of the collection, so the third party agency does, take their money first. Before we see any money, they're gonna pay themselves.
Yeah. Good point.
Can be, it can be somewhat unpleasant and a little aggressive, to be honest. The nature of their business, that's how they operate. So it's not a please and thank you kind of business. It's a lot more aggressive than that. So I can understand there's some hesitancy to engage some of these firms because it does really generates a lot of ill will amongst people.
Right?
Are we at the point where I can ask a question?
Well, not really, but certainly, this is complicated, and if it helps everyone to understand what we're trying to do, or certainly a question, I'll entertain it, because it could have an effect on the knowledge that we're trying to attain.
So, I'm just trying to understand the problem. So the gap is what you're trying to recoup from the individual who used the ambulance.
Right.
And is there a certain segment of the population, is it people on Medicare that are medicated that are not able to pay the difference, is it people without insurance at all that are?
I mean, I think, as Kristen said, there's really 4 different categories, right? People who have various private insurances and they will pay various, they pay different rates depending on their review of what's the usual customs and charge. And then the Medicare, Medicaid rates are pretty set in stone. They don't change with inflation, they don't change very quickly, or quite frankly, it takes them a long time to catch up. So in that process, what ends up happening is we, by billing at a higher rate, set the rates to try to more accurately reflect the cost of the service. And we just end up writing off more and more of that, right?
So there isn't one group that is.
It's not one that you can
Primarily.
target to say, yeah, this is the best chance you have. Private pay typically is the highest reimbursed.
But I'm asking, is there one group that's primarily not able to pay?
Well, there's quite a large number of folks that are uninsured. So those are the tough things to try to. Well,
And I omitted comment too on Medicaid. Medicaid only pays so much, that's it. You can raise your rates and do what you want, but you're only gonna pay this. You cannot go third-party collection of Medicaid patients. Because once you accept the Medicaid patient, or the insurance, not insurance, but the coverage for that call from a Medicaid patient, you can't third-party bill.
So what do other towns do in this predicament?
everybody's in the same boat. It's a constant struggle. And it just depends on the payer base, the folks that are accessing the service. We're experiencing, because we do have a higher percentage of folks that have Medicare or Medicaid. We have some more folks that are lower income, also that are elderly. The uninsured was just it's kind of like the homeless or other population. This is one of those services that we offer, that we end up covering at the local level. Because we're not going to deny service. And it's a service provider and when we're called to respond, but there's a fiscal impact to that. And I think the board has been very cautious about trying to be reasonable about where we're spending our money. This gap is growing as the rates are not moving up in the cost of service. So it's just a concern, something we're gonna have to look at. And the one thing that, again, for consideration that we can do based on calls is well, for the party collection, but the results are mixed and the process is still question.
On the, non-emergency transports, this is affecting that also, and how are we doing like that? Because that was like, supposed to be a, kind of like a separate thing where we were
That's a,
gaining things versus losing it.
that's a more stable business model, but it also, while we're doing the transports, there are times when, you know, we also then get emergency calls, so we're trying to figure out how to balance the staffing, so that we don't have to have additional staff or overtime coverages or those kinds of things. But the transport portion seems to be at least, bringing in the revenues that we anticipate. So that's been fairly successful. That would help if they raised the Medicare and Medicaid rates
Yeah.
as well. Just to be blunt, that would be very helpful to us.
And if you notice on there, there's a mileage for, it's called a loaded mile. That means when the patient's in the ambulance and they're transporting somewhere, it's called a loaded mile. Medicaid only pays, so much for distance, they only pay 17 miles, I forget now what it is, but
14 or 17, it's not very far.
it's not very far. So if we're transporting in a facility from here to Dartmouth, for example, we're only paying to load that patient to a stretcher.
You get quite a few to actually go to Albany.
Yeah,
Yeah, challenge.
but that's the Medicaid side. Yes.
I'd like to ask a question about Cat France. For those people on Medicare who also have Medicomp insurance, does that rate usually match what you're charging, or are you losing money there too?
I don't believe there's, I think, what Krista said is true, that once they set the rate, even though you might have secondary, I don't believe you get any additional coverage. And you might on other services, I know other, that they negotiate, but I believe ambulance is pretty straight. It is, you get the one bite of the apple, that's it.
So if you said you're charging more, the insurance companies are,
We've set our base rates at a higher level, just to more accurately reflect what it costs us to run the service, like the cost of people, supplies and gas, and equipment. And that gap is as well. The reimbursement rates aren't changing. Their staffing. So. And that, you know, it's a bigger problem than just ambulance fees, because quite frankly, CMS sets the rates for all the services that,
Yeah.
provides.
Yeah, the hospitals are.
Yeah, they're in the same boat.
So they're in the same boat that, you know, they're arguing that they also are experiencing that same squeeze. So,
gas prices higher, and no emergency adjustment. They should be, that your local, your state representatives, and all, guys, look at.
this is all federal, CMS is all federal. I would love to have some consideration. Not sure that's realistic, but I would like it.
I have sort of sure question, like, I know it's not a huge amount. But
What page are you on?
oh, I'm sorry,
On the report, the aging
the
report.
aging report,
Okay.
total 3 or 4, there's in 180 days. No bill sent yet, $53,000, in that column. Why, in 180 days, wouldn't we have at least sent a bill?
Some of those are because they haven't resolved the actual, some of the patient data. So we actually we have to do our ambulance reports, and then there's some other activity that takes place, and then there's billing. that takes
Okay.
place. So there is a gap. But we will catch up to those as well.
Okay, I just,
That's impacting the well path stuff too for the state.
right.
You
Okay.
notice there's a big chunk out for the state.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
will get resolved with this new contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, very complicated.
Oh, no, I have a client that I work with in medical billing.
Yeah, it's no easy answers to this one. So,
I know that the department was, they used to write off. We have Medicare and health insurance, and the rest of them write off. They're not doing that anymore. They're actually going for the difference.
we're gonna send a bill to the end of the month, yeah.
So. Some people pay.
We do make an effort to try to collect, like I said, we do have a person that does our payments bill. The challenge is after a certain point, just from an accounting standpoint, we have to write the adjustments.
Yeah.
If uncollected this. The biggest challenge is, how aggressive we go after some of that. And it's a policy question. It's something for us to consider. I wouldn't recommend it just because of what I think right now. We're not in critical condition, but we're certainly not approaching, we're approaching the point where we have to start paying much closer attention to this. So, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more as we go through the budget process, so. It's another thing to put on your future you, if you're thinking about things in the present.
I do see on page one, or the heading page, you do have a tentative motion there.
Yes. So at this point, I think it's enough to accept the report, understand that we'll hold off on any third-party billing at this point, and we'll come back to you, if we're not seeing, if we're seeing significant gaps to the point where we're concerned that we're thinking that we might need to approach that more aggressively, I'd make that recommendation. So I think at this point, we'll just acknowledge the issue and report, and we'll come back to you before the vote this meeting.
Well, the motion written is accept the report and recommend aging account write-offs without further private collection efforts as third party. Pending, additional information or future. Yeah.
Yep.
So if you're looking for a
I'll
motion.
second.
Mike, was that a second?
Yeah.
We do have a motion and second. To accept the report, and recommend agent account write-offs without further private collection efforts. Checking with them, and just to state that we do have our in-house person that does her best at collections. Or built. Is there any further discussion on that? It's now that we've got it dissected. Any comments from the audience, including Zoom participants?
I do, I'm sorry. Does this have something to do, with the fact that we're a full service town? If we were not a full service town, would we be in the same situation?
Well, there are communities that use third parties, as a rescue entity for private service, and lots of communities use Rescue Link as a contract service, and they do all the billing and collections. We do have fire-based ambulance. That's not unusual. So it just depends, and they have the same collection issues, quite frankly. So it's not. That's a challenge in that entire industry, quite frankly, healthcare in general, but specifically that portion of healthcare is really getting squeezed.
And where, to that point, that's a valid point. If there's revenue generated from the billing, because we're a town-based EMS service, we get that income or that revenue. Where if it was a private supplier of EMS, like Golden Cross or Rescue Link, they keep. Well, we wouldn't see any revenue, so that's where we as a town look at. Are we getting the best bang for the buck, if you will, on taxpayers, property taxpayers, for providing a service that they expect? Private ambulance services, they're not gonna park 3 ambulances down here in general. So you have long extended wait times, travel times from wherever their other business ambulances are located and such. So it's again, very complicated. as to the services we provide, and this was set up to, with the United Bird to generate some revenue. And, you know, arguably, some things, some people believe it should pay for itself and we should be making money. When in fact, that's very, very difficult to do because of the issues and problems with billing that we just discussed. It's, there's a lot of companies that do it, but they're not getting rich, so to speak, if I can say that. Because of the cost of manpower, equipment. And then that third-party ambulance charge, a surcharge, they were providing it for Springfield, they would charge us a surcharge or imagine for that service. So money would be going out, but we would not get any revenue back. Other questions, comments? This is a good topic. I spent a couple hours with the billing clerk trying to understand this. Or she's pretty vocal now explaining, so maybe that helps. She works hard on our behalf. All right, any comments, discussion? Taking hands up on Zoom participants, I'll call for the motion, starting on my left with Doug Johnston.
Aye.
Christine says aye, Howard Chase.
Aye.
And Mike Schmidt. Aye. That is for the affirmative. And so approved, recognized in the absence of the plan. And I'm sure we'll hear more about this.
Yes.
Item number 7. Certification of Springfield Supportive Housing Program, Housing Opportunity Grant.
So, again, lots of fun acronyms. You all seem to be able to do at the federal level. What this is we do have, Springfield Supportive Housing uses this money to help, program expenses for folks. And they do offer some, scattered sites in Springfield, area. And, this certification will allow them to go after, state fiscal year 27 housing opportunity grant program funds. So we're not asking for any local funds, we're not asking for anything more than just authorization to support it. Application to continue offering services at the locations of the company.
So you're looking for a motion to certify local government approval, which is us,
Yes.
for Springfield Supportive Housing to receive Housing Opportunity Grant Program funds.
Yes, and we do have a certification letter that we just have to, either have you sign it or I'll sign it. Preferably, it doesn't matter who signed it, but they just want that part of their application.
So would you prefer to sign that? Or-
Sure.
And authorize the town manager to sign that certification. I kind of stated what the motion is. Is there a member that would like to?
I move that we certify local government, our approval for Springfield Supportive Housing to the Housing Opportunity Grant Programs Fund for 2027.
And
Second.
authorize the town manager to sign it.
Oh, and authorize, yeah.
Well, Doug with a second, thank you. We do have a motion and seconded, certify local government approval for Springfield Supportive Housing to receive Housing Opportunity Grant Program funds and authorize the town manager to sign the document, the certification document. Discussion from board members. Comments from the audience, including Zoom participants. Hearings, oh, is that a hand up?
Yeah.
Oh, he was on.
Oh,
They
okay.
might join. Okay.
Lee, I see your hand up if you'd like to comment.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. I just wanted to express my appreciation for the select board in considering this. The state of Vermont Office of Economic Opportunity provides this funding. It's the vast majority of the funding for our program for each year. It doesn't just allow us to provide the shelter units that we primary lease throughout our district, but it also provides us the ability to do housing navigation and retention, which is our intake and prevention department, and do coordinated entry assessments for anyone experiencing a housing crisis. In addition, we do have a financial assistance part of our grant that comes from them that has helped the population of Springfield with first last security and rental arrears to maintain housing, because if you don't know already, it's always a lot less expensive to keep somebody housed than it is to rehouse them. And so I just wanted to say I appreciate your considering this, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, ladies. Any other comments, questions, discussion? Hearing or seeing any? Open hands by Zoom participant, I'll call the motion, starting on the left. Doug Johnson. Aye. Steve Moore says aye. Howard Chase.
For transparency purposes, I work at Springfield Supported Housing, so I recuse myself with the vote.
And Mike Schmidt. Aye. That is 3 in the affirmative. Is 1 abstaining and 1 absent. Those are 302. And it is so approved. We only need 3 votes, so it is a majority, and it is approved. Thank you, members. Oh, no, thank you for the hard work that you do. Item number 8, utility agreement with 45 Red Maple Drive.
So the town took a property back in 2023 that was a tax sale property. And there was a person, a tenant in the property, and at that point in time, I included for the board's purposes a copy of their initial agreement with the town that the folks there would pay based on a schedule to pay off the liabilities that put them in tax sale in the first place. So you can see they were behind on tax sale water and wastewater, as well as additional cost for the actual tax sale itself. Well, this over time, this person, this property did not comply with the original agreement. So it brought to my attention now this situation that we need to address. They have apparently paid off the initial tax liability utilities, but they will not keep in current regular billings from 2023 forward. So we will need to adjust their current amount due to reflect for they're a non, they don't, they basically will have to set a flat rate for them for their water and sewer charges, and then go back and they'll have to set a payment plan to pay us for those. And at that point, then they'll, I believe, be current with everything in the initial agreement plus all the utilities that would be due. We don't have a meter on the property, so we have to set the standard rate. Go back and collect it. So at this point, what I'm asking the board to do is just to agree to let me amend this agreement so that we can catch up on the utilities that should have been billed as current use, and then ultimately, once they have reached that point in time within the 6-month time period, we're going to be fully caught up. And at that point, there will have to be some discussion about what the board wants to do in terms of the actual unit itself. It reverts back to the folks that are living there based on the agreement. So it's something I have to work with Steve on as to how that will transact behavior. So I sort of came into this a little bit sort of at the end of the process. We were unaware this process was happening. It's a little unusual to have this kind of a thing. So I just want to bring it to your attention so that you can understand where we stand and ultimately what we have to still do. At some point, there might be a future action that we decide that if there is an action for ownership. Right now, it's under the town. We actually own the property. So at some point, if everything was current, I don't think we would make some effort to get ourselves out of that business. So we'll be talking to you about that as well.
Okay, I'm glad you made that last comment because I was wondering how this different from the board of civil authority and what they do. But we own the property. We own the property. And somebody's living in it. Right. That makes all the sense. And, thank you for your attempts to trying to accrue the funds into our accounts. Is there a motion to get this on the table?
I'll make a motion that board waive the penalties and interest accrued 45 Red Maple Drive as long as the current tenant honors and the 6-month payment repayment plan for the past due base rates for utilities.
Thank you, members. We have a motion seconded that the board agrees to waive penalties and interest accrued to 45 Red Maple Drive as long as the current tenant honors the 6-month payment plan for the past due base rate for utilities. Is there discussion from board members?
Yes.
Mike?
So we have the town has a tenant that isn't paying their bill.
Town has a tenant that was not compliant with the original agreement that was entered into in twenty.
So they're not paying their bill.
But they had paid off the past due portion. What they had not done is kept current use. I don't know why it's not billed or why that was not.
So why do we keep them as a tenant?
That's a great question. I don't know why this agreement sort of started in the first place, but it did.
Yeah.
And so it brings us to where we are. So I guess
I look forward to further action on this.
in the interest of sort of drawing this thing to a conclusion, Mike, I prefer to just get this 6 months collected and then us to be out of this business. But again, I have to bring something back to the board's consideration. I think that is to make that decision. So,
Excellent. Doug?
Are they currently paying rent along with the utility bill? Well, obviously they're not paying the utility bill, but do they pay rent plus that?
all they pay is what's in that agreement that I provided to you. Pretty sweet deal.
But this, it does buy us some time, and like you said, you're looking to get out there. It's great.
Yes. Once I was made aware of it, I didn't want to be in that business. So
That's it.
I'm looking to move it.
Is there a way we can put it up for sale if we own it?
Absolutely. You own it currently. That's another option that we want to consider.
Of course, there are restrictions on that. Aren't we restricted to what we bought it for tax sale and utilities? No, we're not able to make it. We aren't gonna sell this for big money, and make a profit.
No, but it'll get us out of the situation where we're in. That's what I was looking at.
But that's the reason we ended up with it. I'm assuming is because it went to tax sale and
Well, we did.
yeah, well. We are the. We're bidder of last
Full
resort.
transparency, we did. How we owned it.
And the bidder of last resort.
Yes, we are. So hopefully this will bring us full circle and we will have to have to see for the future.
Other discussion.
Now,
We're done now. Comment from the audience.
But we give it to Springfield supported housing when all bills are paid up. Another place to people live could be.
That may take some work to get it up to code if it's not code compliant, but that would be a question that the supportive housing would have to take into.
Need more housing if it didn't cost too much to it. So that would be a good deal for the organization.
Any other comments? Hearing, seeing none. Call for vote, starting on my left, Doug Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Moore says aye. Howard Chase,
Aye.
Mike Schmidt.
Aye.
Oh, you did vote.
Yeah, I voted on
That is 4 in the affirmative, and so approved, recognized in the absence. Item number 9. Consideration of a bid award to Slack City Culvert in FEMA fund.
So the long and winding road of all FEMA projects, unfortunately, right? So I want to give the board some history here because this was originally December of 2023 project and was actually repaired. And then there was, as you can see, correspondence where FEMA rejected the hazard mitigation portion, which would have been resizing of the culvert. So originally, this project was gonna obligate up to $250,000 worth of federal funds. They took away the $135,000 in the hazard mitigation funds. So based on the original damages and original repairs that were done, we did receive the $86,000 in federal monies. We paid the $28,010. So that's the original project. So that brings you to the current condition of the mitigation. Then, as part of the hazard mitigation process, there was a engineer hired, there was hazard mitigation improvements that were bid. And so since we'd already done a 90% project, we went ahead and put it out and got it back in. So the price actually came in very, very reasonable compared to the total bid price. But we don't have any federal funds to pay this culvert upside. So basically, if we awarded this contract, we would be on the hook for the $263,900. If you apply the federal money that we had received, we could then offset it, and we could realistically say we still do an additional $148,660. Given that that's a limited amount of houses being served by upsiding and changing that culvert, I would recommend at this point that the board would reject the bids as submitted. And at this point, we would receive the information that from the FEMA review that they felt that it was at least at this point, there's some language in here that said that it was reasonably so they didn't say that it's as good as it can, as it should be, but it's better than it was, basically, is what they basically, sort of left it off. So bringing this full circle, given that we're stressed with a variety of different projects that require mitigation and others that we haven't even done yet to put out to bid, I would recommend at this point that we check these bids, and at this point, simply say that this mitigation for now is one to work with, and we'll be moving on and ensure many more projects as go forward. Hopefully, we'll have some federal funds to help us offset it. But you can see the cost of mitigation extreme in these circumstances, so these are difficult decisions to make, but in this case, I think it's reasonable to accept the mitigation that's currently in place and move on.
Any comment from the board or?
Would this be available for future federal funds at all?
It's difficult to do the benefit cost analysis because they want a 1-to-1, and since we only had $135,000 worth of damages, we need, in FEMA math, we need another washout, so we can spend another $135,000, and then it would be over the 263, and then we could submit it for hazard mitigation. If that makes any sense to it all. That's how it would actually work. Okay. So I don't wish for that to happen, but if it did happen, that's how we would go down. Okay.
Another complicated thing.
It's not logical to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. How to make it work.
Is there a member from the board that would like to hold the motion to reject the submitted bids? Go on that. Recognizing Doug Johnston at second. We do have a motion and seconded, to reject the submitted bids for further upgrades to the Slab City culvert, based on a lack of female participation for funding. Discussion from board members. Comments from the audience. Recognizing Ron.
Yeah, has anybody, any of the neighbors in that area had any trouble with, any pushback of being inconvenienced by using a detour? Anybody had any problem with that?
I haven't heard from any of the neighbors. The abutter to the existing culvert was concerned about the repair or the upsizing, in fact, a stone wall or some other items on her property, so she was not a supporter of the upsizing.
So if it's no real inconvenience for the neighbors, they're not saying anything about it, except for this one person saying, hey, it benefit me to leave it be.
Right.
Make that detour, just make it a permanent change.
But permanent, as long as we don't have funding to fix them.
But you see what I'm saying, as far as.
Yeah, understood. And thank you for that.
Just to make the record clear, the detour isn't because of this culvert. The detour is because of the bridge that's down the road.
Always okay, I was gonna ask that.
Okay, I'm thinking of one. Okay.
Yep. That's a good point. Any other comments? Hearing, seeing none. Go to the Zoom participants. Call for the vote, starting on the left with Doug Johnson.
Aye.
Christie Morrison is aye. Dr. Chase.
Aye.
And Mike Schmidt.
Aye.
Four in the affirmative. And so approved, recognizing the absent. Item number 10, back to the summer schedule and doing some clarification on June 22nd.
So we had a couple meeting dates that we had to sort of move it around, one in the avoiding Memorial Day Monday, end of this month, so that's why we asked to move the next Monday, which would be June 1st. Strategic planning meeting, this is a single agenda, special meeting, that'll be June 9th. And then I have an asterisk next to the July 1 tax rate meeting, depending upon if we have a state budget by that, we will actually have an education tax rate and we'll give you some tax rate. That's to be determined. So we are hopeful that that will all take place. And then the others are just our regular pencil month meetings since we go through the summer.
Pleasure of the board approved. Recognizing the regular select board meeting of June 22nd, and just the public hearing for the previously mentioned ordinance update. Walter spoke to her.
It's gonna be on June 22nd?
Yes.
Okay. Is that gonna be the only topic, or is it gonna be other topics?
So that's the regular select board meeting.
Oh, there'll be other topics.
Okay, I just don't know how
Bring
long
coffee.
this is, be planning on maybe a possible long night, that's all.
Could be some discussion.
Could be. But we gotta start the process, so we get it toward the completion. So without objections, I'm gonna entertain a motion to approve.
I'll say.
We have a motion and seconded to approve adopt the proposed summer meeting schedule that was presented to us by the town manager earlier this evening. Is there any discussion from board members? Any comments from the audience? I don't know how many have seen the summer schedule, but we've talked about it.
They're gonna be at the normal time.
6 o'clock, except for the strategic planning meeting, which is the 9th, that starts at 10 a.m. And we have not set a time for the July 1 special meeting, tax rate, it's fine. Speculative with that. So, we're a little closer, hopefully we have a sense of, that's why.
Or not.
Or not.
Yeah.
I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll.
Likewise, don't worry about it. Any other discussion, comments? Hearing, seeing none, that includes Zoom participants, seeing the hand up. We'll call for the vote without the schedule. Doug Johnson.
Aye.
Warren says aye. Howard says, Mike Smith.
Aye.
It is for the affirmative, and I know Heather has reviewed this, so.
Yes, that should still be the dates and times.
Yeah. But she's absent, so it is approved and adopted, vote by 4-0-1.
We can go back to item 5, which is the public hearing is set for June 22nd, now that we've adopted all the new date.
That was included in the summer schedule.
It is.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we have it as a specific item on our board agenda, so we should just go ahead and adopt the public hearing for 22nd.
Gotcha, that's covered, thank you.
We can post it.
Is there a motion from board? I move that we adopt the 22nd public hearing for the zoning land use.
Ordinance.
Ordinance.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you, members. We have a motion and seconded to adopt June 22nd. 2026 for a public hearing to adopt the land use development ordinance. Any discussion on comments? Not hearing, and seeing any hands up or attempts to speak, we call the vote, starting on my left, Jonathan.
Aye.
Christie Morris, so aye. Tara Chase. Mike Smith.
Aye.
That is 4 in the affirmative. And so approved, recognizing the absence of Heather Brand. Financial reports.
You have a couple of warrants available for decision.
Town managers report.
But thank you for the summer schedule. We'll get that posted and make sure that everybody has a chance to get that on calendars. We did have, remember I talked to the board previously about little water folks coming to do a cyber evaluation. Fortunately, the person that actually came to do it ended up getting ill and is not available to complete his analysis. So we did bring in another party to do the work necessary to, for 2 purposes. First of all, we were a little bit behind in relationship to having this work done to sort of get a test about where we're vulnerable. And as it turns out, we have a substantial amount of work to do on our systems at both the water plant and the wastewater plant in order to be better protected from some of these parties that are starting to email and take over water systems and basically mess around with folks, SCADA systems, TLCs and all of their associated networking devices. So the good news is we were able to complete the analysis. We also then were able to submit a grant, which I finalized today, for Homeland Security funds that we're hoping will help offset some of the costs. I think more immediate concern is when I added up what was their recommendation for the wastewater plant and water plant was over $600,000 worth of upgrades necessary to bring us to compliance. We are significantly behind in relationship to our systems, and some of those systems are they're not even being supported anymore. So there are no security patches. They're incredibly vulnerable to hackers, and
this is happening, these types of attacks are happening significantly, from North Korea, from Iran, from other sort of web types of folks, so this is a significant problem. There's some, most recently, a couple of utilities in New Hampshire ended up having to buy back access to their own systems, somewhere in the neighborhood of almost $500,000 for an incident. A lot of these are not covered by insurance because you have cyber liability coverages, but they are limited. They are not at those levels. So it's a significant problem. It was a eye-opening to me once you got the numbers, and eye-opening to these the folks running our plants, but we committed to addressing the issue. We did put in a plan with $50,000 on the Homeland Security grant page today. So that grant is closing up this month. So we're cautiously hopeful that we might be able to qualify for some federal support. And then we'll have to work it into our water and sewer budgets as we go forward to get these vulnerabilities covered. It's an issue that's not going to go away. And so even once we get to this point, the kinds of attacks and the kind of vulnerabilities seem to just evolve over time. So we're going to have to continuously make investments in types of things that we do to protect our data. And it's not just the water and sewer folks, but the same things that's happening with police, the same things happening with our finance. So it's going to be an area that we're going to have to talk about in more detail as we go forward, because these fixes are becoming very expensive to maintain the levels of protection that are being recommended in order to keep ourselves from being overtaken by these these third-party actors. So it's a little bit difficult for us to try to, we talk to these folks and they're talking in acronyms. If we talk in acronyms a lot here, they talk in acronyms times 10. So I'm always constantly asking, what does that mean? Does this mean HMI? I learned that's a new word today. It's called human machine interface. You guys ever? I didn't know what HMI was, but for them, I know now. But so there's a host of vulnerabilities, a lot of concern, but I think we're going to keep you apprised as we go forward about how we have made some immediate security updates, which will make us less vulnerable, which is helpful. But it is certainly not going to be enough to keep us from having to make these significant investments. So keep you informed of this.
The good news.
That's the good news. Now, the good news is we haven't been hacked and lost control of our system. Still,
Yes. And I'm sure in other towns or in the same boat.
they're doing these security reviews all over, and we have the same result. Same. A lot of these SCADA systems were put in 15, 20 years ago. Guys that are running plants aren't technology experts, they're plant operators. So as long as they're getting results and the information they need, they don't necessarily working on network security and firewalls and all the protections that are necessary. And unfortunately now, we're in a different environment and the threats are significant and the threats are real. So we're gonna have to address them.
I just got the chamber, I just got a grant from Cisco for cybersecurity audit and updates on.
Yeah. It's just gonna be a new environment. We're gonna have to just learn to be comfortable. It's it's not gonna stay static. It's constantly evolving. So just have to learn how to be more nimble so that we're not as far behind. We're certainly farther behind than I'd like to be. So we will address it and we'll put this.
Right? Did any of these tech people talk to you about a closed system and their own server and they're not on the internet?
Most of these are going to be they're going to be closed. And so there's no access outside of internal.
And then there's all sorts of multi-factor authorizations and other protections for them. So. Yeah, it's definitely changing. The nature of the threats are more sophisticated. They're more and more, I guess, of these types of, I guess they're just use of organized groups or whatever the hell, but targeting utilities specifically.
They can get into stupid things like emails, text messages between people that work.
Can be as simple as that, it can be, as long as are setting the facts out of our, calculator, it's on the same. So, it's really, your vulnerability when we get into it, are pretty, they're eye-opening, to say the least. There's nothing remarkable about them wanting to come and mess with us, it's just, I think it's all randomized. They try to find you because they're just looking for vulnerability, and then obviously when people are paying them, it's making money. So we're going to continue until we can effectively protect ourselves in a more aggressive way. So more to come. More to come on that topic. Yeah. But I wanted to bring that one to your attention, but it was a staggering amount of money. I was very surprised. I figured it was going to be expensive. I didn't want to be in that range, so I wanted to put that on to the attention. Very good. Any other thoughts before we move on? Okay. Future agenda items. Doug, anything? No. You gotta play one ordinance.
Well, that, yeah, that's that.
I'm good, Howard.
I do actually. I'd like for us, and maybe we can do this at the strategic planning, that is the community notification plan. I exchanged a brief email with Scott. There's a lot of municipalities that have public notification systems. Basically, it's you sign up for a voluntary email, and the town regularly leads you in on communication. I think that would be a benefit to our community.
They're opt-ins, they're not automatic, so if you want this, then you can opt in with your email, and then there's push notifications.
Yeah.
through this.
There's all kinds of things, but that's the least.
At least people are at least asking for the information.
Right.
As opposed to me just blasting.
Yeah, we did that with the police department. Anybody who wanted to be on email notifications.
Based off of your previous report, I'm not sure, which just opens it up to. Accessibility.
No more than we are.
Okay, moving on, committee reports and announcements. Start with Leslie, Doug.
Just the ordinance committee.
More to go on that before. I'm gonna pass at this point, Tara.
Springfield on the Move newsletter is in our board packet and online, so you can check that out, but I do want to highlight that there will be a Vision Abound art show May 15th at the Great Hall. There'll be some wine and a live DJ. There will be Korean barbecue there, as well as some amazing artists showing off their work. So come.
Mike?
Nothing under this heading.
I noticed when I was driving up through town today, we started hydrant flushing. We have, and I missed the announcement, I'm sure. Sure, it was put up there, it is, but, yep. And it's because of my schedule, not the efficiency of the departments. But just an announcement that they are flushing hydrants. Other minutes and correspondence. We do have the 2026-2027 Hope Fund Housing Initiative flyer. Springfield on the Move May newsletter that was mentioned by Tara. March 10th, Springfield Trails Rural Economy approved minutes.
April 28th, Inclusion Committee approved minutes. May 6th, Cemetery Commission draft minutes. May 12th, Springfield Housing Authority agenda. Those are available in the whiteboard packets, available on town website, and hard copies can be retrieved from town main available. We're at that point in the agenda where we're gonna entertain citizens' comment. From sitting down, but we have a hand.
I have a citizens announcement. This Saturday, the 16th of May, the state and chamber will be opening up, this, Springfield Eureka Schoolhouse for its summer opening. And between 2 and 5, there will be, the Historical Society, there will be, a band, light refreshments. So I invite you all to come out and take a look at it. It's been freshened up. We have working toilets, all kinds of things. And the schoolhouse will be open until we have a full list of docents. It is available by RSVP.
Excellent. Just FYI, I'm out of town this weekend, so
I know.
listen. Love to be there and thought.
Well, you just need RSVP.
Yeah. Any other citizens that like to comment, Stephen? Items that were not on the agenda or on inquiring minds? Seeing none. That concludes the agenda for this evening. I would entertain the motion to adjourn. Seconds. You have a motion to adjourn. Call for the vote on that. All those in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and those opposed saying nay, that want to stay longer? Hearing none, seeing none. We are adjourned at 7:52.
To order copies of this program, please call 802-885-6248. This program was created using equipment of SAPA TV. The views and opinions expressed in this video are not necessarily those of SAPA TV or its staff. Visit us online at www.sapatv.org. Thanks for watching.